All right, everyone. Again, thank you for joining us for our guest speaker series. Very honored to have another alumni guest joining us tonight. Mark Olson's C12, who has had the full MDM experience, is working in industry now, doing some very impressive things, and excited to have him with us. I do want to acknowledge that we are located on the Coast Salish people's unceded territories, and specifically the Musqueam, the Squamish, and the Tsleil-Waututh nations. And I also want to give a shout out to one of our local neighbors, Colin Van Loon, who works at the Indigenous Matriarchs for Media, has worked on a really cool project called This Is Not a Ceremony. It's a VR project that's really, it's getting a lot of great press, and it's a very interesting project that I encourage everyone to check out. I am, for the purpose of this call, I'm actually going to post it in the chat too, so people can check it out, because this is bridging the both worlds of storytelling, Indigenous storytelling at that, and VR. So check that out when you get a chance. And now I'm going to switch back to, and again, on the VR and telling stories, this is a great segue to Mark. So Mark has, he's working on campus with us again. It's like you can go to school or checking into Hotel California, you can never leave. Mark came back. He's working out of that container in the back. I mean, I don't think looks like you're in the office right now, but not in the shipping container. But I'll kick things off again by once again saying thank you, Mark, for joining us. Really excited to see what you have to share with us tonight. And yeah, can't thank you enough already in advance, but hopefully we'll have time for Q&A at the end as well. So floor is yours. Take it away.
Cool. Let me, I'm not a Zoom, we're a Google team, so I'm not a Zoom expert, but let's see if I can just share my screen here. Hopefully you guys are all seeing just a blank white screen. Is that,
it's very snowy.
Is that the case?
It's
perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. If not, I will bring Josh up here for some IT support as I
make it today.
As
sorry,
I always do. Awesome. Yeah. Well, as Dennis mentioned, I am currently in the 577 building and in our office here. And for those of you who just said in the chat, yes, you probably did just see me walk by. I was just outside in our container. We were having some interviews with our CEO today in our container. So we were rustling and bustling outside a little bit today. So if you did just see me walk by, that was definitely me. And feel free to stop me next time and say, hey, I met you. So love to chat with anybody on campus here. Yeah, well, why don't I just give you a little recap here? So I'll jump into a bit of kind of who I am, and then we can jump into some of the stuff that I'm working on and have been working on, and then hopefully we have some time for some Q&A. I'll try to, Dennis, maybe you can let me know when we got about like when we're halfway through, and then also when we got about like maybe just 5 minutes left, and I can just we can just hold it and people can ask some questions. Awesome. So cool. So yeah, I wanted to start with something that's kind of important to me, and that's why we all do stuff, why we do what we do. One of the things that over my several years of professional experience, I've realized is a huge piece to survival, I would say, in the workplace. And so I will share kind of those to start out, and then I'll touch on those throughout my kind of timeline here of who I am. So let me just start with that. So my first why, and this started when I was like really young, was just building relationships. I'm an extrovert, and so like I just I know Dave, I know Larry, I know Dennis, I know everybody. So which is also why I mentioned, stop me walking around campus, happy to chat with you. So building relationships is one of my big whys. And so I'll touch on that throughout here, and building meaningful relationships, of course. Another one that I've just actually realized kind of recently is that I'm really into innovation and kind of risk taking and new kind of stuff that hasn't been really adopted by everyone. And you'll kind of see that throughout as I go through some of the experiences that I went through in my life, and currently as well. So, we'll touch on these a little bit later and throughout, but those are my whys, and whys are really important to me in kind of what I do. So, we'll move on to kind of what my journey is, and I'll try to get through this quickly so it's not super boring for all of you guys. It is a pretty unique journey. I remember talking to Dave about who I was before I came to the CDM, and he was like, no, you're exactly what we need. And so, which was a big surprise for me to hear, which is partly why I'm here. So just to start, I was born in Minneapolis, in the US, in Minnesota. For those of you who don't know, that's kind of in the central northern part of the US. A lot of people don't necessarily know where that is. And it's kind of similar to Canada. It's cold. But it's also really well known for Prince being from there. Shout out to Dennis and also Mark, the other musician that is a part of the CDM. And then for those, kind of movie buffs, also really well known for where the Mighty Ducks were filmed and staged. Fun fact was my sister actually tried out for the first Mighty Ducks movie and got turned down because she was too good at hockey. Because they were looking for a figure skater, which if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, so that's where I'm from. I grew up in a Montessori educational environment. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's very hands-on, kind of learn as you do, which is some interesting foreshadowing for the CDM, because also very hands-on. So I grew up really, and I love that too. I'm really, I would encourage anyone to send their kids to a Montessori school. Luckily enough, I had a Montessori school that went all the way until just before high school, which is somewhat unique. So yeah, there's a cute, sweet photo of me, just so you guys can make fun of me later as well. And I also had some very adventurous parents. So those are my parents, and we're about to jump in the water, but maybe not. I don't think we did. But they took me on a lot of adventures, a lot of outdoor adventures, and they were also they're both psychologists as well. So getting back to kind of the relationship building and the people side of business, a little foreshadowing there, and so that's a little, kind of where I'm from. And when I was in junior high, I took a trip with my parents for the first time without my sister. First trip without my sister, which was unique, is out to California. And I was like, yep, that's the next stop on my train. And that was when I was, I think, 12. Sweet throwback photo to Mustang, drop top Mustang there. And so that, that brought me to my next journey. So I ended up getting recruited to go play sports in Southern California, which was amazing, and getting my undergrad there. And while I was there, I played soccer and tennis. And another kind of trait that I also use in business now is I actually was awarded a perseverance award because I got injured pretty bad my third year in university, and then I came back and still made the team, and came back from that injury. I tore up my knee pretty bad, and I'm still playing now, which is great. But yeah, so perseverance is definitely another. It's not up on the whys for me, but it's definitely a trait that is a part of my kind of business career as well. And so I graduated with a business degree from there, business marketing, and I was like, I'm going to go take over the world. And so a couple of my friends and my cousin convinced me to move to San Diego, which I would encourage anyone to move to San Diego. And this was, I'm not going to say exactly when this was, but it was, well, you'll find out in a second here. It was right before the 2008 crash. So we went down there. We were like, oh, economy's great. We're gonna, let's just get a job. We'll figure it out. And this also kind of started my my kind of relationship building aspect. Is I was getting into a lot of sales, getting into a lot of like kind of retail, or even kind of promotional kind of things. And so I was building relationships that were very brief or short term with either my colleagues or with customers. And so the financial crisis hit, and it was the worst time to be looking to be just getting out of school. And my dad actually tells me that we're never going to recover from that, my kind of generation or my era. But luckily, I'm here, so that's a good sign for us. And so I went and did an internship at the here's also a tie back to innovation at a skateboard company that was making skateboards out of bamboo, which I thought was really unique and interesting. And it was also very kind of revolutionary for this time frame. And I, at this point, it was just and I was trying to get anything. But also this crash also made me think about, what do I really want to be doing? And so, part of the Southern California lifestyle is kind of this surf, skate, action sports is really awesome, which is what, you can see me there. I'm really excited. And so I got into that, and I actually spent like about 6 or 7 years there. And I went from an intern to being a part owner in the company, as well as being the director of marketing and operations, which I learned a ton. I learned a lot about the business side of things. I was using a lot of my business degree a lot, learned about developing relationships that were a little bit more long-term. So this is when my relationships started to get a little bit more long-term with clients and big customers. Part of our company was actually a few other bamboo products as well. And one of our clients was Lowe's Home Improvement Centers. So that was my first segue into kind of the corporate account management kind of side of things. But what I really learned was that I really love the creative side of things. Being there for so long, we ended up launching some new products. As you can see on the right side of this photo, there's a whole kind of, as we call them, longboards in the industry, for those of you that skateboard out there. And I really liked, we rebranded those or we rebranded our company and shifted our offering more toward that side of the business. And I really liked the working with an agency to redesign things. And I really loved the creative process. So that spawned me into, getting out of that company. One of the things I really learned here was that one of my weaknesses, which is I am a little bit too loyal sometimes. And so, like I mentioned, I was there for about 6 or 7 years, and I probably should have only been there for about 3 to 4. But I ended up pitching a business plan to kind of separate some of the businesses and take what I thought was a really good business plan and run with it, and let go of separate the businesses that weren't going very well. The family-owned business decided not to go that route, and so I parted ways, which was another learning experience too. And another way that I was able to put that business plan together was that I built a relationship with one of my father's colleagues, and he mentored me through that whole process. So, you know, tie back to kind of relationship building. And I, you know, I moved on, not knowing exactly what I was going to do, but I decided it was time to get into creative. Don't worry, it's just a little blip. It's not too crazy. So I started working with a couple creative agencies on contract basis, and I even helped out one of my going, you know, getting back to innovation and also kind of my entrepreneurship side of things. Is that commercial right there was working with an agency that I was working with, and then also helping out one of my colleagues who started a lacrosse company. And so that was them launching the apparel side of the business. And so that was kind of you know, a big shift, I think, in my direction in my career. And we and what I did was I started volunteering. I kind of went a bit backwards. But a lot of people say, you know, sometimes you got to take 2 steps back, or maybe even 3 steps back to take 1 step forward. And so, you know, I started volunteering for and developing relationships with people in the industry. And you can see my goofy face as I volunteered for this organization called SDX. They're the basically the nonprofit kind of organization that does all the advertising agencies kind of events and awards and all that stuff in San Diego. Met a lot of really great people, really influential people in the industry. I was lucky enough to have a soccer buddy of mine that was an owner of one of the agencies in San Diego. So I had a bit of a leg up into a lot of things, which was, you know, another relationship piece there. And that was totally through, you know, soccer or other hobbies, which is another thing that I would very much recommend that people do, even if you're new to a place. I'm currently playing on a soccer team in Vancouver. When I first moved here, I was already on a team before I had my first class at the CDM. I was on a team in August. But yeah, volunteering is a great way to get involved in an industry that you're not familiar with and that you have no experience in. And unfortunately, it still didn't get me kind of the experience that I needed to land a job in the kind of creative agency world. And so, you know, that kind of brought me, you know, up to, you know, my next move, which is coming up here. But one of the big influential things, which is, you know, kind of part of the why, is that I actually was able, through one of those nonprofit kind of agency events, I was able to see Simon Sinek speak. And if for those of you who don't know, he is kind of famous for his golden circle, and you know, this is a good explanation of it for those of you who don't know what it is. But that really was something that I was already doing, but it kind of brought to life, like, and brought it into the good frame of reference of, oh, this is like, you know, this is how this makes sense. You know, other people do this, and so, you know, it's something that I continue to do, and I try to distill into all the, you know, companies that I work with, and as well as what I do, and it's really like a meaningful way to do things. So that was a big kind of piece for me too, before I kind of moved out of Vancouver. So the whole I kind of gave a little bit of a teaser to that earlier, is when I was coming to, or when I was deciding to come to Vancouver, it was a big decision for me. I was in San Diego. It's hard to leave San Diego, and I also wasn't very young, so I wasn't. I definitely wasn't in a way where I was ready to really go back to school to um, or to even like go to the kind of the bottom tier of like an agency. And my buddy that run that agency, he said that's kind of what you have to do. He said you got to go back to school, or you got to go like move to LA or New York or Chicago and start at the bottom. Um, and so lucky enough, I have a great family, and my sister who lives in Vancouver, which is half the reason why I came up here, um, was like she got her master's. Both of my parents also got their PhDs or masters, um, and she just sent me a link to the SFU communications thing because she got her master's at SFU, and I clicked out on the CDM link and it went out to this website, and I was like, what? This is exactly what I'm looking for. Um, and to the point where, I also had a bit of that imposter syndrome, kind of like, ooh, but I don't know if I've got the skills for this. I don't have much experience. Is it going to work? And I reached out and said that, and I set up a meeting with Dave, and I came up and met with Dave, and um, this is actually a photo I think from that time I came up to visit, and I obviously got to go visit my sister as well, so it was really easy. But yeah, and that just totally reassured me that hey, I can do this, which is another building, like taking the risk to build that relationship and to come up and meet somebody and get that face to face. Maybe it also helped me get in, I don't know. But touching on some of the CDM stuff, super briefly, I came in thinking, haven't been in school for a long time. I'm in over my head. And so I'm just going to follow, what the instructors and professors are all saying. I quickly, with the great talented peers that I had in my first project, switched that lens to this environment of, oh, I'm going to learn from all these people around me, and which is a very key, as most of you guys probably already know. Maybe if this was September, this might be a little bit of a better antidote for you. But yeah, I learned a lot from my peers, and I remember a key point when I was as a project manager, I was kind of trying to follow what the guidelines that were set. But my other talented colleagues were saying, we can do this, but we can also do this. And I took a step back and was like, oh, okay, we can do that. And it was a bit of a kind of aha moment for me. And I can accredit that to Rex. If he's on the call, I sent him the link to join us today. He's in the upper right corner of that photo on the right there. He's the one that gave me the aha moment. So
he
yeah,
is here, Mark. I want to give you a breather and also say Rex is here, and he's like he's giving you the I am. So just so you know, you got fans. You had fans
cool.
join up. So
yeah, let me pull up the chat here. Sorry, I haven't pulled up the chat.
No, and I didn't want you to miss that either. It's like I loved seeing it. You actually had a whole series of alum join this call at the hour, and that's why I was like urgently pushing to let's get them in. But that's amazing.
Awesome. Yeah. I learned a lot from Rex. Continue to as well.
Thanks, Rex.
Yeah, so that kind of got me into a lot of the different projects that I worked on. I thought instead of kind of reworking this, I thought maybe we'd just kick out to my portfolio, and we can cruise through a couple of the projects that I worked on. Can you guys see that all right?
Good.
Cool. So yeah, I can kind of go chronological here a little bit. Another shout out to Rex is the VR theater project. So this was in my second term. I would say this was the biggest team that I've ever managed, and it was definitely a challenge. But I think one of the biggest pulls from me on this, or takeaways from me on this project, was that we really got caught up in, and for those of you guys don't know the VR SIGGRAPH theater, if you don't know, you should probably know. But we kind of redesigned it a little bit back in as a project, and then they've taken it to kind of the next level, big time. Some alumni and some other people like Yangos. But one of the things that was a big takeaway for me was we got kind of stuck in the design process, and we didn't start just moving. And sometimes and I think part of it is that we didn't ask the right questions right away. So this was something that I learned throughout the next part of my kind of career path. I learned it at my next job, and still currently am implementing some of those learnings. But asking the right questions, getting the kind of, I don't want to say scope down, but getting things kind of scaled to a place where you can really start and move and try something is really important. We kind of got stuck in this, like, oh, what are we going to do? We did a lot of design stuff, and at one point we just kind of I think we had Larry come in and say, okay, this is the direction we're going, let's go this way. And that was a bit of an aha moment for me in this project. But yeah, I mean, as you can see, we did a lot of there's a lot of components to this. A summary of what we did was basically take like an idea of creating this lobby that was specific to the VR theater, but not specific to any movie, and making it themed to that year's theme of at SIGGRAPH, and that's what we did. It was Generations, and we basically brought it to almost a pretty implementable piece. And yeah, you guys can check this out. This is actually what it ended up looking like. You saw a quick video at the top was our prototype in the hangar, which was pretty cool. But this is what it actually looks like. It's pretty similar. So yeah. Anyways, that was our project. Our project 2, or my second term project. And then my pitch project was actually pretty unique. It was the third term. How we doing on time, Dennis? We good? Yeah, we're good. Yeah. And this was really unique because this really hadn't been done before. And for those of you guys know about or have heard about pitch projects, ask Jason about this project, and he will, yeah, he'll probably have a lot to tell you, but in a good way, I think. But we kind of accomplished all of our team's goals in this. We had a unique kind of value proposition. We wanted to create a mixed reality live concert experience, and we were able to do that. We brought in a client. We found our own client, which was a band that we worked with throughout the process, which is something that I was interested in. And then we were able to connect with other industry partners. So we were able to get out and meet people in the same kind of industry, and you can see a little bit of our team kind of describing it. But we ended up doing this, teamed up with the art installation term project. It wasn't a project, it's a class. And with our actual pitch project. So it was a bit of a paired thing, which was really cool. And I don't know if people do that still.
Elective.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, the electives rotate, but that was one, and I thought you were exceptionally smart in pairing your elective interest with your your pitch project. So and
What
yeah,
was
you
fun?
got a lot of comments in the chat too about how cool it was and impressive. And again, I think you're leading towards this, but and it's nice to see some of your classmates. But you all, anyway, I'll let you take the mic back. But I wanted to say, yeah, that was an elective. Electives vary, but you were smart in what you did. And strategically, any of the other pitch project teams that move forward with ventures, think about your elective complementing what you're doing for sure.
One thing that's funny though is that I actually didn't take that elective for credit. I just was sat in on it and did all the stuff. I definitely should have taken it for credit, but
you
I
put a
didn't
lot
really
of
need
work
to.
in. That's right. So you were auditing. Do you remember what
Yeah.
elective you took? Just curious.
I think it was UX.
Okay.
Yeah, in the summer. Yeah. So, but Julie was taking it, and she's on our team, on this team. And another piece of this too, like, well, I'll touch on that later, but is the team that we had. It was like, we made our own team, which was really cool too. We happened to win an award for this, so award winner, highlight there, which was cool. But this was definitely a very unique project, and we ended up, like putting together a performance for everybody, which was really cool. That was part of the installation elective. So that, I think it's a bit of some takeaways on this one, was this is where I got my first job. Like, we reached out to some industry partners just to get mentors in the industry, which is what, as a pitch project you need to do to get approved. And we reached out to quite a few, and we were able to actually, we had a mentor from Microsoft, and that's how we got a bunch of HoloLenses. I think we had 10 for this event, which was pretty pretty impressive. And then also we reached out to Tangible, which is spoiler alert, kind of my next next projects on my portfolio here. But we went and met with them, and then they called me a week later and said, "Hey, do you want a job?" And I was like, yeah, sure. So it was definitely a great way to, even if you're not doing an industry project, you can still develop relationships through a pitch project, which I thought was a big takeaway. But obviously, an industry project is another great way to find your first job as well. But yeah, even if you're not doing that, don't be afraid to reach out. But Dennis, you got something there?
Yeah, I was just going to say, because we met in the parking lot, and we were just catching up on some of your old team members, and Julie's now she's continuing in the entrepreneurial vein under a new venture, right? It's I'm going to post the link in chat just to give a shout out and promote their Kickstarter campaign, but they're doing something that, again, touches on AR and storytelling, and, Julie's still being Julie, right?
100%, yeah, and that's a good segue into some of my other projects here. I think I was lucky to be able to have that job offer and have the ability to jump right into. I think I had a weekend before when graduation, like that, and then I started like right away. But definitely feel lucky for that. Yeah, a little bit about Tangible, if you guys aren't familiar. They're an art, like interactive art installation studio, and very small company run by Alex, who I think someone posted in the chat. He's amazing, creative director, but they do really unique interactive experiences. He started the company back in 2008, right before and he used to be in the agency world as a creative director, and started as a graphic designer, and then moved into kind of wanting to do more tangible things. And he started out by just making these big balls that light up, that you launch out at concerts, and when you touch them, which it just has something that can tell if it moves inside, and it changes the light. And a really funny story to that is that the first time that they launched that product was at Arcade Fire concert at Coachella back in, I think, 2008 or 9 or something like that. And I was at that concert. Really funny tie back. But yeah, it was a good concert. But yeah, so those balls that got launched out, that was a mind blower that, you know, Alex did that, and I was now working for that company. But what, you know, some of the really great things that they do before we get into some of the projects side of it here is Alex has a really good why. He's got a great why for that company, and he might not call it a why, but he calls it more of like his kind of core principles, or what kind of products are when they're designing a product or designing something. They always think about these three things, and he'll tell you this too. And the three things are minimal. So all of their products that they design, or experiences that they design, are minimal, meaning like easy to understand and to interact with. You don't need a big tutorial. And then playful. So it creates like an interaction where you feel kind of like a kid again. And then also they're defining, and that's the core one there. And I thought that's unique that he has these, and a great thing to have when you're designing something from a company's perspective or a brand's perspective, is to have some of these core kind of principles that you kind of think about. Okay, does this fit what we want to be doing? And the define part is like, yeah, like the balls, these huge balls that are literally filled with a little bit of helium are flying over you. They're like 7 feet in diameter, and then when you touch it, the color changes. Like that's a prime example for something that's crazy defined. So that's something that I think is a key takeaway from that people can, if they're starting their own business, or just your side of things too, is like, what do you want to be doing, and what projects are you want to be working on. He's also very selective with that stuff. But the other side of it was that his business model was really great. You've got this creative kind of big projects that you work on, and then he turns those into products. So you have these experiences that you're kind of constantly prototyping and building with clients or internally, and then when the successful ones, we figured out how to turn into products that we would rent out on like a more regular basis. And so having these two kind of core sides to the business really keeps them alive. I think it's always good to have. You see a lot of creative agencies that they just rely on their clients, and they're always like kind of like looking for that next client. And so that's some of the pieces there. So yeah, we've got 10 minutes left, so I'll start crushing through things here. So one of the big projects, I'll just kind of touch on this one, which was really kind of the big project that I worked on there, was the Samsung Galaxy Graffiti. This started out as just a cold call from an agency internal in Korea from Samsung. They saw our one of these products online, and they were like, "Oh, can we do like a graffiti wall?" And these are like very small, like projection based things. And through my relationship building with that, and I would say maybe some of my sales techniques, I guess, from the past jobs that I've had, I built it into this huge installation that turned into this multiple faceted experience, as you can see here. And there's Alex, actually, we're prototyping here. So we, and you guys can check this out on my website, or if you're in London or Tokyo or or Valencia, Spain. But it's a big graffiti wall that uses a phone, Samsung phone, and motion traction cameras to to digitally play on a 3D environment. And so we designed this interface as well as the actual physical component of it. And so one of the things that I really like doing is the physical and digital components of things, which is a piece here, and that leads into kind of what I'm currently doing. So I'll move back to our shout out to Carl too. He was in some of those shots, another alumni from C12. Carl worked on this. Conrad, also from C11, worked on this. Julie helped out a little bit with this. She also helped out with this other project that was a little bit smaller, somewhat similar. That was this Adidas kind of graffiti installation. Conrad also helped out on this one too, somewhat similar. But yeah, we can jump back so that we can get to some questions here. So that's kind of my past journey, and kind of jumping into what I'm working on currently, my present, which is also a little bit of a play on words there, because I feel like Dennis kind of gifted me a present with this job. He literally got me this job out of nowhere. Tangible was downsizing, as you can imagine, from the pandemic, and so they had let some people, or kind of laid off some people just for until they could bring people back on. But in that time frame, I was out looking at what I wanted to do next, and Dennis and I connected, and he thought this would be a good kind of next step for me. So yeah, I can briefly explain what it is a little bit. Can't talk too much about where we're going. And you guys can ask me all the questions about the metaverse and all this stuff, and I probably don't have any of the answers, but I can tell you what we're doing. Yeah, it's Immersive Tech did escape rooms, but they were very high-end escape rooms, so a lot of automation, kind of like theme park automation style, which is that physical side of things that I really like. And then also had some Unity aspects of it. Their big COVID pivot was to go into location-based VR, and they did a project with a client that was an escape room in. Yeah, you'll see some people here because they did some user testing, and this is our little kind of sizzle reel that we brought to a trade show in November. But they did inside of it for Bayer Pharmaceuticals, did a shipping container escape room right before the pandemic, like right before it. And so their big COVID pivot was to go to VR in a shipping container, which is very unique because it's what we call hyper immersive, which is one-to-one tracking of the physical. As you can see, these physical props in the environment, and with some haptic feedback, as well as air blasts and heat hitting you, and fans and whatnot, and so that's the project that we're working on. That's what the container is out back. That's our prototype, and we have our first client that we're delivering to here in the spring, which we're really excited about, and that prototype back there, it doesn't look at all like what the final product is going to look like, which is also really cool because we've iterated a whole bunch from the physical side of things as well as the game development side of things. But one of the things that I really liked about this opportunity was that we were starting to build a team essentially from scratch, kind of, and so that really enticed me from that relationship building side of things, and that kind of here, let me keep going here. So that kind of brought my this is, me bringing my whys to kind of what I'm currently working on, which I feel like I have been doing a lot since the CDM, which is really exciting. But the relationship building of going from back when I was, doing retail stuff, working at a surf shop in San Diego, to with those short kind of relationships and still being successful at that, promoting beverage company stuff at grocery stores, to those kind of account management with the agency side of things in San Diego, and all the way up to kind of what I'm doing now. Well, also with the stop in with Tangible, working on building relationships there on like a project and account management side of things. But what I've been really excited about doing is building this team, as well as building a culture here that that we can be proud of. And one of the big reasons why I joined this company was when I met with the executives and the founders. They really had the same kind of direction of what we wanted to do, from that side of things. The same kind of motto and culture of what we were trying to do really innovative things, which is another why that I have, but also the motto of like how we want to build this team, how we want to take the company public and still keep it the way we want it to be. Some of these mottos are pillars, I would say. We're always looking for incremental growth, so don't be afraid to fail, but we want to make sure that you're not making the same mistake over and over. And then also with that comes kind of this sense of transparency. So we really support people sharing what they're doing and sharing often, and having that we mentality where we win as a team and we fail as a team as well. And that really helps with that incremental growth. So you're not kind of siloed and trying to figure things out for yourself. And then another piece of that, which is a little bit different from that, is that we try to come up with ways to make it so that, and this is a shout back to the CDM stuff, that not the loudest idea wins. And we're still working on that, obviously, and I feel like teams are always working on that, but it is something that we shoot for, and it's we do that in various ways, but that comes from the top down, and that's what we're all about. But for me, I get to touch on the people side of things, the innovative product, but then also inventing kind of the process of how the workflows that we do. Everything's really new when you're making content, and then you're also making the console that content goes at, and then you're building a team along the way. So to wrap this up, get into Q&A here. These are some of my whys, but I think a big takeaway here is that whys are genuine. They're not like a sales pitch. If you approach something with a really genuine kind of why behind it, and then you start to figure out with that golden circle the how and the what, people just get on board. You might not all have the same whys, but you can respect those whys. You can respect why someone's doing something, as opposed to just telling someone what you do. If you talk to people about why you do things, it's just a totally different mindset. So that's it. Yeah, we can jump into questions.
We should, and I'm going to give you a pause here on that, because it's just like you've nailed so many things. And again, like the genuine nature, it does so much better for your career and just your dealings and your mental health. And I mean, I think people respect the genuine approach. And I think you've touched on this too, like the principles concept, like having principles as a driver, not just personally, but in a business, can work. And Alex, he had that, and it, finding what those core principles are. And I believe in that, like the principles, not policies per se, right? So you find out what those drivers are, and some of those things too about not the loudest idea getting through, like figuring out ways to make sure that you have great space to generate those ideas. I mean, that's something that we always work on, and I think the CDM sort of embraces, with the mix of personalities and voices and ideas and disciplines in a room. So you've modeled so much of what we're looking for in a student coming through the program, to transform and identify and realize that you're learning from the people around you as much as you learn from the Frakias of the world. I'm seeing Dave there, so it's not to say that the old gray hair on the mountain like myself or Dave, doesn't have wisdom to impart, but there's so many people you can learn from, and you've been doing that. And seeing some of your classmates join up on this call here too is just awesome, and seeing them in the videos too. I think there's just this very I also wanted to counter you on one point too, because you said something about that you're very lucky on something, and I'm like, it's not entirely true. You created your own luck. You actually you put yourself in the position to be lucky. I think that's often I think mistaken. People, oh, that person's so lucky. Well, you put yourself in a position to get lucky. You actually reached out to some of those mentors for your project, and you'd met Alex, and you were able to secure HoloLens devices, and you were able to do this amazing performance in there. And again, we were able to connect, and Tim and I go way back. He'd reached out about what he was doing, and I'm like, I know a guy. So it's I think you make your own luck. But anyway, that was more of a statement than a question, so I wanted to put it out to others on the call here. Anyone have a question for Mark? He doesn't bite. He's a super friendly C12, and he's very
you guys like my Nerf gun in the back?
That's
gotta have a Nerf gun. Gotta have a Nerf gun in the office, FYI. But yeah, shoot.
Yep. Who's got the questions? Come on. Dave might. Stop leaning in.
I'm just going to make one quick statement, which is thank you, Mark, for not only giving back this way and giving back the way you have by bringing the installation over near the CDM, but you've been hiring our students as well. I know you hired Karina recently, who I worked together on my studio with too, right after she graduated. And you've got some MyTax hires through our grant as well. So you're really giving back as well, which I really appreciate. And congratulations on your success.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, definitely. I mean, the talent pool is pretty solid. So we're always looking for those right people. But yeah, it's nice to be back on campus and connected here. Definitely. Yeah, I was able to luckily to work with right out of school too at Tangible with with Carl and Julie and Conrad. We even brought in a couple other alumni for stints. Hector came to Tokyo with me, and we even had I think Gabriel come to Spain as well. So a good network. Yep. Never missed the opportunity for reaching out to a good network.
Yeah, and the network is so, and again, I literally have Josh on my right shoulder, actually, or my left shoulder here. I can't tell in Zoom, but Josh was a part of this connection happening too. We were talking about guest speakers and what would, and Josh actually was like, let's make this happen. And so thanks, Josh. I'm going to give you a shout out on that too, because it's.
You reeled me in.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. All right. It looks like, I don't know if there's comments or questions here, but Mark hired me. Oh, Farbod. There you go. Hey, Farbod.
Yeah, he's in the other room right now. Actually, I think listening to this.
Nice.
I sent him the link right beforehand.
Yeah. Hello.
Hey, Farbod. Anyone? Current code student question? Mark, advice? What did you wish you did? What are you doing next? What's your favorite? No, we got shy people on the call.
I have just a general comment. I think it's so great that we have alumni coming back to the university and actually like leasing extra space. It's fantastic. Like it just makes it opens up so many opportunities for the students. Like right when C16 started, we did that VR thing in the hangar, and having you guys here. Just really great to see such close proximity for opportunities for the students after. Even if it's just user testing or hopefully employment as well. But it's super exciting. And also with the EA office opening up down the street. I hope that we see kind of, I love to have, I prefer alumni, but I also like to see just, general technology companies actually starting to make a break ground here on the campus, around the campus, walking distance.
Totally on the same
Yeah.
page, Josh. And but it looks like we got Ugo with a hand up here too. So we do have a brave C16 in the question pool here. So let's Ugo, go. Mike's yours.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, so hey, Mark. You mentioned that you took up a project management role without any experience. What was that like?
Yeah, you mean at the CDM?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I had project management experience, but not in kind of the digital side of things. So I was managing, operational stuff and working with people and task management and all that. But getting into Unity for the first time, coming to the CDM, a lot of that stuff was, that was where I kind of was mentioning to Dave, like, are you sure I'm supposed to be here? But what was great about that is the peers side of things. But I also did a lot of, once I got in, once I found out that I was getting in the springtime, I spent a lot of the summer just getting some basic overviews of Adobe stuff, my Unity, a lot of that. But another, so I came in not super scared. Well, I was still scared, but I came in like, oh, I kind of know this enough to at least know the language. But what was really helpful is the workshops. So we did a bunch of workshops, which I hope you guys are still doing. And that was peer-led workshops on like after hour time. It was, I think, sometimes during lunch or after in the evenings or something, or even maybe on the weekends.
Very good advice. And we do have a student industry committee who's pulled the cohort for various subject matter experts, and they're planning that. So I see Ruchi on the call here. I'm putting the to-do task here. Yeah.
So Joseph, Jojo, I didn't know you were on this call. That's awesome. But you definitely helped, with some of that. But yeah, we did a lot of that. So I learned After Effects. I learned some Unity. I learned some like Python stuff. But also like in the projects, like for example, our game design project, I was able to really get into Unity and just like move things around and like play with things. And so the CDM really gives you that to like the ability that, hey, this project there's no money riding on this really, especially in the first term. And so, get in there and spend the time, right? And there's a lot of, I was living here on campus. And so there's a lot of, it was just so easy to walk downstairs or to meet up with somebody and learn a little bit about what I needed to know. But I did lean on my peers a lot at the beginning. So I hope that answered your question. So it was more about not knowing the hard skills for me and having some of the soft skills. Is that similar to what you're asking about, or is that different?
Oh, well, I just wanted to chat with you. I just wanted to talk to you, actually. That's why I asked the question. But then it seems like your experience at the CDM, it's kind of influenced where you are right now, getting an interest in installation and VR experience. So it seems like you had a really open mind when you got into the CDM. Am I right or wrong?
100%. Yeah. If I hadn't gone to the CDM, I would be in LA working, running as a runner or something for some ad agency, like being like working my butt off, and it would have been horrible probably. But it also let me know that I don't want to work for an ad agency. I want to work for more something that's more of a product driven or an experience driven. So it really helped me understand that through the hands-on stuff. So like the VR theater, as well as our some other projects that we kind of touched on, and just being in the industry, going to industry nights at like Microsoft and like seeing presentations. I continued that mentality of like trying to volunteer, I guess, or like get out there, because we had some volunteer opportunities, especially at Microsoft, I think a lot during my term. So yeah, so that was really helpful, and it gave me, but going back to school and being in here and not being afraid to fail and not being afraid to say I don't know how to do this was really useful, because you can't go to a job, or I mean you can, but it's really not going to probably go over very well saying like, hey, I don't know how to do any of this stuff to a job. So yeah, it was, I was looking at like some other MBA like potential school stuff, and that was just not even on my radar after I saw the CDM. So
yeah, I'm comfortable with that, and I'm glad that I could hear that from you, because it's the kind of mindset I came into the CDM with, and hearing from you and seeing how far you've come, kind of reassuring.
Yeah, well, I'm glad. That's awesome. Yeah.
Right.
If you ever want to grab a coffee or something, I'm around.
Look at that. That's an alumni offer. Fantastic.
And Dennis, I just want to say, do I answer Aida here? Do I miss San Diego? Only in the wintertime when there's no snowboarding. So like November, definitely miss it.
All right.
That's fair. Yeah, you did say you made that move to the warmth and then you came to Vancouver, but we've got, it's all right. It's all right. So I'm going to say thanks here because we are getting into extra, but I also, you did touch on the volunteering thing. Others on the call, CGraph is coming back to Vancouver this year. There was a student call for volunteers. There still is, as far as I know. I shared that info with the pre-MDM students. To Mark's credit and point here, take those opportunities. And networking does go beyond the professional events, and that's why I was giving you the nod about joining a soccer club. You don't know who you're going to meet. Like, I mean, your other passions can lead you to other people that are just going to be a part of your network, right? So put yourselves out there. The CDM walls they're cool, and but there's so much more that's happening. Mark, thank you so much. Thanks for bringing along some alumni memories for us, and it's great seeing you around campus. So. And it was my pleasure making that connection too, because it was natural. It kind of worked. And again, you created your own luck. We're proud of you, and I appreciate all of your time tonight. So going to say good night for now until next time. So
okay, thanks everybody. Appreciate it.
Thanks Mark.
All.
See you soon.
Okay.
Thanks, Mark.
Bye.